There will never be a day in Scottish football where things are completely normal. I've accepted that, and I've been doing this here on YouTube for the last 10 years, knowing fine well things will never be completely normal. And that point was reinforced yesterday after the post-split fixtures were announced for everybody, including, of course, the three sides who will compete for the Scottish Premiership title this season. And it's safe to say that the reaction has been completely normal. That was sarcastic. Also, we have the lifting of the ban for the Green Brigade to discuss. Let's talk about all of that today in this video. If you haven't already, and especially if you're here today with your tinfoil hat on, go down below, hit like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated. We've got a few things to discuss this afternoon off the back of yesterday's big day for Celtic, as we found out our post-split fixtures, and we also found out that the Green Brigade will return to Celtic Park for those post-split fixtures and the game against St Mirren this weekend. We're going to start off the video talking about that because the Green Brigade have released their own statement today over the last few hours after it was announced they would return to the stadium, with some interesting points that need to be discussed. So first things first, we done a breaking news video last night on the channel talking about this. If you haven't seen that, then I'll point you in that direction. But and the long and short of it all is that Celtic released this statement last night, confirming that the club had lifted the suspension of the Green Brigade from effect, or with effect, sorry, from Saturday's game against St Mirren. That was confirmed after a meeting between the club, of course, the Green Brigade accepting certain terms and conditions, and with the involvement of the Glasgow City Council Safety Advisory Group. So there was some policies laid forward and some points that the Green Brigade had to agree to they had to adhere to being reinstated to Celtic Park. And the great news last night was that those points had been agreed upon and that they will return from this Saturday. It's something that we all know Celtic Park needed for this run-in, for the last stage of the season, where we will play Rangers at Celtic Park, where we will play Hearts on the final day at Celtic Park. We need the best atmosphere as possible, and of course with the Green Brigade there, that helps make sure we get that. And after that statement last night, we knew that it would be only a matter of time before the Green Brigade released their own statement in relation to the lifting of suspensions, which did come earlier this afternoon. So there was an update given about the suspensions and a full statement. I won't go through it all verbatim. I'll leave that down to you to go and read for yourselves. However, some points that were highlighted by the Green Brigade were the all suspensions had been lifted, pro rata refunds and away points had been credited back to supporters. I believe the exact line was, all affected supporters will receive a pro rata refund for matches missed and be credited with away points they would otherwise have gotten if they were there and able to go to those matches officially. We believe this is vindication that there was no basis for the suspension, which I think is a very, very important line amongst this whole statement. And then there was another couple of things, but and more importantly towards the end, some recommendations to Celtic. So in the short term, they put that the full refund should be expected for all matches missed by affected supporters. The allocation of away points for fixture supporters would have otherwise attended was a part of that. Advanced visibility of stewarding and policing plans for the North Curve. A consistent and visible SLO presence within the North Curve. A policing approach that is proportionate, with presence limited to circumstances where it's strictly necessary. And a formal apology to supporters for the manner in which the situation had been handled. That was all short term. Medium term, the Green Brigade went on to say that there should be an establishment of a democratically elected fan advisory body and a transparent, meaningful supporter engagement framework put forward at the club. The introduction of a fair, transparent and proportionate disciplinary process for supporters. An expansion of the SLO team, which I think is very important considering you see the work that JP Taylor has to do himself. Consideration of grouping the Green Brigade and Boys Celtic together for the 26-27 season, and the exploration of a goal-end safe standing section from the 27-28 season as well. So in particular with the short-term aims, very reasonable recommendations from the Green Brigade to put forward. I think that 99% of fans would be in agreement with the majority of these. I would like to see policing done fairer and better at Celtic Park within all sections of the stadium, but in particular down there. And I would like to see, an apology put forward to supporters who did wrongfully miss in all their matches. I don't think that is a big ask, so we'll wait and see if Brian Wilson responds to that. In terms of medium term as well, a couple of very well put together points that I think the majority of us once again have been clamouring for. You know, we want to see fans involved with decision making processes, whether that be minor or major. A fan advisory board would be a great way of bringing forward transparent and meaningful engagement between the fans and the club. And the SLO team, it should be bigger and expanded upon, rather than just the one single point of contact that we have right now with JP Taylor. Once again, a very reasonable request by the Green Brigade or any Celtic supporter. I know that everything is still a matter of opinion with folk, and in particular the last couple of points with seating the two groups together and a goal line standing section. You know, that's one of those ones that will always bring up debates among supporters. But when you just look through this all in general, a very well put together statement as always, as we try to, as they've already said, try to a fight to salvage our season. But yeah, very well put forward statement. Good to have them back, and hopefully we hear something moving forward about a lot of these points and all the other things that the likes of the Celtic Fans Collective have been fighting for these last few months, and the aim to try and better and modernise the football club. So let's hope all goes to plan, that rules and agreements are adhered to, and we don't have any more dramas between now and the end of the season. I can't wait to have the Green Brigade back in the stadium to see what the atmosphere will be like between now and the end. We have a big chase on our hands to win this league title, and every little helps, as Mr. Tesco would say, and I think it's a big help having that vocal element of the stadium back in place for the remaining home fixtures. So talking about those remaining home fixtures, let's very quickly remind ourselves of that post-split schedule that was announced yesterday. Of course, we still have St Mirren this weekend at Celtic Park, and then St Mirren at Hampden in the Scottish Cup semi-finals. But beyond that, the split fixtures, or the post-split fixtures, follows Falkirk at home on Saturday, April 25th, Hibs away on Sunday, the 3rd of May, Rangers at home on Sunday, May 10th, midweek to Motherwell on May 13th at Fir Park, and finally, the last game of the season will come against Hearts on May 16th at 12:30 kickoff as the conclusion of the season happens. And yeah, that has brought a totally normal reaction online. Totally fucking normal. I actually wanted to avoid talking about all of this, because my state of mind when it comes to the tinfoil hat stuff and the conspiracy theories in Scottish football is the same as conspiracy theories in real life. You know, when it's conspiracy theories in politics or history, I let the nutters have that, and there's no point in me contributing, because when people are that dumb that they want to actually believe these things, and in particular, of course, the conspiracies flying around the post-split fixtures right now, there is no reasoning with these people. There is no debate to be had. You are better off fighting thin air, because you're never going to get through to them. Their choice is made, their decision is made, and the tinfoil hat is on. But a couple of prominent figures have decided to partake in the tinfoil hat wearing, conspiracy theory moon howling, and honestly, I just can't believe we have to be having these conversations. So I very quickly wanted to visit a couple of them. First and foremost, Mr. Ewan Cameron, who was sitting in his car with sunglasses that wouldn't even fit a Highland coup. He, of course, couldn't keep his mouth shut, because he loves a wee rant, and fair play to him. You know, I've never had a problem with Ewan Cameron having his rants and doing what he does, because at the end of the day, I do the same thing. But I'd like to think, and maybe quite egotistically, I have never done it to the extent that Mr. Cameron does. We're all in this business to get clicks to some extent, but we know what Ewan Cameron's main aim is. It's to get people raging, it's to get people clicking, and it's to get people like me biting. And I'm going to bite, Ewan. I am going to bite. His video yesterday was absolutely hilarious, and it made me just wonder and ask the question, could you just shut up for once? Celtic could be top of the league by the time the pre-split fixtures are over, and Ewan Cameron has given himself a near heart attack in the front seat of his car because Celtic have been given the home game on the final day of the season. I'm not going to go in as heavy on Mr. Cameron as I am the next of the usual suspects, but I can't believe we're having to have these conversations. Simple mathematics, simple rules, and fairness that exists. We've went to Tynecastle twice this season. Hearts need to come to Celtic Park twice this season in the issue of fairness. It just so happens it's the last day. Does that favour Celtic? Aye. But let's be honest here, Ewan. Is Hearts going to be top of the table come match day 38? Are Hearts still going to be in the title race come match day 38? Nobody has the answers to these questions. So apologies if the SPFL don't have the crystal ball that you would quite like them to have in making this decision. And I think the more frustrating part with Ewan Cameron is he's been giving it big licks all season trying to wind folk up. But as soon as the shoe's going to be on the other foot, and as soon as it's going to be Celtic or Rangers that go on and win this league title, because I do believe it'll be one of the two, he's not going to be able to take it. He's not going to be able to. So we're going to have to put up with that whinging when the time comes as well. So, just a lack of basic understanding perhaps, but tedious nonetheless. But the one that has really wound me up the most today, and the one that really sums up the problem with most of the voices in the mainstream media, is your man Ally McCoist, because he couldn't resist having a pop and running the conspiracy narrative, even if he was trying to have a laugh while doing so. We all know that he meant it. I'm actually going to play the clip of Ally McCoist because I don't think me reading it out does it justice. Let's just have a listen to what Ally McCoist had to say in regards to the post-split fixtures.
Listen, you couldn't... First of all, very good morning to you boys. Hey, Gabby, you couldn't get a bet on them having a home game, a final game in a season.
Why
man.
does that always
Honestly.
happen, Ali? Why?
Oh, well, they're running the thing up here, aren't they? That's why. They're absolutely running it, mate. They've got 4 of the last 6 at home, mate. Again, we've got 4 or 6 away. You couldn't make it up, pal.
Let's just replay one part again very quickly.
Oh, well, they're running the thing up here, aren't they? That's why. They're absolutely running it, mate.
You're right, Ali, son. 25 trophies in the last 10 years alone. We absolutely run Scottish football. Don't you forget it, pal. I'm unsure what point Ally McCoist is actually trying to make here. Whilst his face is the same colour as John West's finest. I'm really unsure about what his point is. I get it, Ali. Maths probably isn't your strong point. It never has been. The only time it helped you was when you used to count up your EBT money. So I get that this might be difficult. The aim of the split is to make sure that all the teams, especially those competing, play an equal amount of home and away games. And it just so happens, for that to happen, Rangers need to play 4 away games in the split and Celtic need to play 4 at home. Now, I don't know what point you've tried to miss and what point of that makes you think that Celtic are the almighty overlords of Scottish football controlling with the dark arts. But it's really not hard to understand. This year's split scenario has been obviously complicated further due to the fact that 3 teams have a genuine chance. We've not had to deal with this sort of moon howling in a while because, let's just say how it is, Celtic have romped the league the majority of the last 10 to 15 years. So it's never been a big issue. Of course, this year it's going to be blown out of proportion. And I know that Rangers fans and Rangers legends such as Ali might not be able to relate to a title race or relate to this type of scenario because they haven't been in it all that often. But this isn't a case of giving the split fixtures over to Rangers to decide for themselves. Oh, we'll play at home here and then and whatever. No, it's done as fair a way as possible, and it just so happens this is it. I mean, take a look across to the title challengers, and this is what I was shocked by Derek McInnes's. Maybe I underestimated Derek in a way. His reaction to it in the media, I think, yesterday or whenever it was, he basically came out and said, look, doesn't matter, we've got to play these games, we've got to win these games, doesn't change anything, yada yada. I mean, if he can do that and he's literally the manager of one of these sides competing for a title, then why do, guys that... I mean, Ally McCoist has more interest in Premier League football nowadays. When was the last time he commentated in Scotland? When was the last time that he done commentary for a Scottish Premiership game? Or anything like that. He's too busy down, commentating Sunderland and Bournemouth or whatever he'll be doing this weekend. I don't even know if he's in the loop this year. But why can Derek McInnes acknowledge that this is just the nature of the beast and Ally McCoist can't? And do you know what frustrates me even more? Ally McCoist, who's been very vocal about the get the violin out patter as well these last few years. There was that quip a few years ago in response to Alistair Johnston when he came out and said something about referees against Rangers or something like that. And Ally McCoist was very, very quick to hit out with the violin gesture. Just, the hypocrisy is off the charts. And that's why you could go back on this channel as many years as you want, as many games as you want, and I have never ever once in my life bought into conspiracy theories or anything like that. I've always just accepted it and took it on the chin. Because why? Because I have a fucking brain between my ears, and there's no point in getting bogged down in absolute nonsense like that. And I know a lot of what I just said is going to be very much against those that have always gave me the whole, like, for a Celtic fan, you're no bad, you call it how it is, and you're very honest. I know you won't like what I'm saying about your favoured Ally McCoist and Govern's favourite son, or whatever you want to call him, but I'm sorry, these comments were just totally ludicrous, and this is just my genuine reaction to it all. So if you don't like it, then I'm not going to apologise. But we'll get on with it, and we'll see who wins the league either way. Look, I'm not going to bow down to any suggestions of fixture tampering or favouring clubs or whatever. Whoever wins the league, and the job is simple: go and win your 6 or 7 games that's left, and you've got a chance, probably the best chance, sorry. So we'll see how it goes. Right then, that does it for today. If you've enjoyed, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated. Just a wee bit to get off the chest this afternoon. So take care of yourself, and I'll see you all next time.